All right. This is our Giving Voice to Values project. The dilemma we went for was the Stengel and the Holocaust dilemma. It is by myself, Isaac, Baily, Briggs, Mikayla, Wyatt, and Judd. Now on to the dilemma overview. Franz Stangl trained as a master weaver to start his career. Unhappy with that profession, he applied to become a police officer, where he then joined the ranks of the then illegal Nazi Party. Stangl was transferred to what would become the most horrible of these death camps, Treblinka, which was where one of the first established gas chambers was held. While there, he managed and perfected a system of mass murder using psychological techniques to deceive and terrify, then subdue his victims before entering these gas chambers. In less than a year and a half under Stangl's supervision, more than 900,000 Jews were killed at Treblinka. During his trial, Stangl claimed that he was doing his duty at the camp and was not a murderer. Stangl defended himself by making three claims. First, that he did not get to choose his postings and that disobeying this order would put himself and his family at risk. Next, that once in this position, it was his nature to do an excellent job, where he would become known as the best commander in Poland. Lastly, he was never personally murdering anyone. He saw himself as an administrator. Stengel claimed that his dedication to his work was not about ideology or hatred of Jews. And now on to Judd for the dilemma response.
So our group's response to this dilemma, Stengel believed that the welfare of his family was greater than the 900,000 innocent lives that were tortured and put to an end under his command. He claimed that he had superiors he had to listen to and never chose his job. Under this logic, this would mean that all personnel involved would also be in the same scenario, but that is not the case. There were many Nazis who truly hated Jews and enjoyed the killing, being in their job or not. Along with that, it also indicates that even personnel such as a train conductor would be guilty of murder. Now on to our common reasons.
For our common reasons, we did a big overview on psychological egoism, where each person does in fact pursue their own self-interest exclusively. So first off, in this picture on the right, we can see this woman helping the man and the child. And she could just be a good person, but with this psychological egoism, she could just be making herself look good in front of superior power. Where in Stengel's position, he kind of had the same reasoning where he had to be a high respected man and he wanted that respect, so he would do whatever it took to get that. So Stengel basically had to follow all the orders that he was given, and if he didn't, he and his family were in fact in harm's way as well. He also just wanted that high recognition being in the Nazi party. If you didn't follow orders, you could be through harm, so he had to do whatever he was told, and doing that, he wanted to do the best job, making him a perfectionist, where he needed that picture of himself, but he didn't realize he was committing these mass murders because he didn't believe in the ideology or hatred towards the Jews. Next, we'll talk about rationalization and reason. For this rationalization, like Isaac stated earlier, Stengel made three big claims where, first off, he didn't choose the position. He was put there and he had to follow orders. If he didn't, he could be in harm. Secondly, it was his nature to become the best that he could and be recognized by his peers, just like everybody that was in the Nazi party. And lastly, he never personally felt like he murdered these people because he didn't believe in the ideology, and he didn't have the hatred towards Jewish men, women, and children, but he did in fact commit these mass murders. So our team's response to this was he in fact should have been charged with this mass murder, and he was when he was extradited back to West Germany. And I mean, in the end of his claims, he stated that he realized he had committed these crimes of mass murder, but not intentionally. Next, we'll move on to our group consensus.
So how we came to our consensus, this decision was an interesting one. It was hard to not just think of this dilemma as someone who wasn't a monster. It was hard to justify why this man did what he did. But looking at the difficult theories, it was hard to pinpoint which one it fits into. We had to consider if Stengel could say it was a different culture moral code or religious justification, but the one that fit the most was psychological egoism, doing what is best for the person's self-interest. If this theory was correct or real, then moral philosophy would be pointless and without meaning. Now on to what we learned about the ethical dilemma.
A few things that we learned about our ethical dilemma was in 1936, Franz Stangl joined the Nazi Party. Soon after that, he became a Gestapo agent, which is basically the secret police of the Nazi Party. And then shortly after that, he was appointed head of security at Haarlem Castle. And when he was at Haarlem Castle, a estimated amount of 18,269 people were killed. And then he kind of shuffled around to many death camps. But the one that he is most known for is the Treblinka death camp, which nearly 925,000 Jewish were killed at that camp alone. And then, as Isaac stated, he never thought he killed a person himself. He was just the one that organized it and did to the best of his ability. But later on, he was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to life. And that wraps up our group project.